tiring day, so I'm a little tired today. I'll try my best to energize the system. Let me tell you something about my work. It began when I was taken to dinner in London in a very, very posh restaurant. And this is the way the food was served. First you were served soup. When you finish the soup, then you serve the starters. Then you serve the main course. And finally you serve the dessert. It goes sequentially, one after the other. The food that you eat, all of us at the table were eating exactly the same food. The only exception was for the vegetarians. But otherwise everybody ate exactly the same food. You could garnish it a little bit with salt and pepper, maybe butter. We all ate exactly the same food. And then I remembered how food is served in India. This is how food is served in India. The sweet, the soup, the starter, the main course, the dessert, all of them are served simultaneously. All are served simultaneously. So if you want, you can begin with the dessert. You can take the starter and dip it in the soup. So for the people, it's like some person will take rice and dal, somebody will add pickle to it, somebody will add papad to it, and someone will add gulab jamun to it. It's all allowed. You start wherever you want. And the funny thing is, the cook really doesn't know what you're eating because each person will mix and match it in different proportions. So it is the ultimate in customization. And we just don't see it that way. Think about it, the ultimate user experience. Nobody knows what you're eating because it's so for you like. So when I looked at it, and we don't realize that, when I say this is mythology, because we don't realize this is a ritual. And it reveals how we think. This ritual is centrally controlled. It is sequential, so step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. The categories are rigid. No starter until you finish the soup, so the boundary is fixed. And ultimately, everyone gets the standardized meal which is decided by the central authority. Yeah, much like training programs, right? Yeah? And this is very different. It cannot be centrally controlled, it is locally controlled. Based on the needs of the local customer or the local market, it is customized to satisfy that need. Now, which is the right way to serve food? This way or that way? And really, we shouldn't say this way or that way, but the fact is, so long as food is nutritious, so long as food is hygienic, food can be served any way. But what is happening around the world is this is being seen as the right way. We are not opening our minds to new ideas. Imagine what will happen if a Chinese person comes along and you ask him what's the right way to serve food. He'll say this is not right because you don't keep weapons on the table. Yeah? There are weapons, right? You can kill people with it. And if you go here, the Chinese will say that you don't eat with your hands, that's barbaric, you don't know where the hand has gone. So the best way to eat is with the chopstick. So every culture has its own way of what is appropriate for them. And the same thing applies in management, because ask yourself, all the management textbooks that you read, all the books that you read, 90% of them, where are the primary ideas coming from? The person who writes those books probably eats food like this. And so his book is like that. Clear chapters, categories, divisions, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's not simultaneous. We don't realize it. It doesn't strike. If I give the top 10 management books, I got a historian to make a list of the top 10 management books in the last 100 years, because management is less than 100 years really. And all of them, and what came out from the study was that most of them were men. Most of them were European or American men who didn't eat food like this. And therefore their thoughts also are shaped differently. The question is, does this matter? Or is it just exotic discussion? In a world, we keep using the word globalization. We keep using words like pluralism. We have multinational companies with training departments all over the country. all over the world, different parts of training department, China, Australia, Africa, India. I think there is something to learn from different ways of eating and to expose people that perhaps not everything can be centrally controlled. Perhaps there is value in peripheral control. Perhaps it's okay for things not to be sequential. It is okay for things to be simultaneous. There's a lot to learn from different cultures. You know, I went to the US the other day, and this is of course right now the most favorite currency. Yeah? And you look at it carefully and you notice something very peculiar. There's only one language of it. English. And I keep asking myself, it's only English and I didn't know English. How would I figure out what is written on this note? How would I know it's $100? Why do I assume that everyone knows English? It's a huge assumption in a country of 6 billion, in a world of 6 billion people. Do I exclude people who don't speak English? It seems so, but nobody tells me that, and nobody calls this. But when you compare it with a note like this, guess how many languages are there on this? Yeah, good to be watching my videos. 17 languages. And we know there are more languages in India than this. It's a subset. So I go to Harvard and I ask, who teaches diversity in Harvard? Someone from here or someone from here? You know, and I found it very amusing because, you know, the gentleman argued with me and I just kept quiet. I said, you have no clue what diversity is. It sounds like such a wonderful word, but have you ever stayed in India? What happens when there's diversity? Visualize yourself, you're as chief learning officers. In how many languages are your manuals made? In how many languages are your manual made? If you had to make them in 16 languages, it would be hell. It would be highly inefficient. Diversity is a very good word, but it is also inefficient. This is efficient. The fact that I speak in English and most of you all understand English is the reason we communicate. But if imagine if there was people with 60 different languages in this room, how many translators would have to be there in this room? It would be complex, it would be expensive, it would be inefficient. And yet, we know the value of diversity. I went to Colombia in South America the other day, and it was a nightmare because everybody spoke Spanish and I spoke English. It was so awkward, and I wasn't sure I could get the joke. Because I'd crack a joke, I would wait for 1 minute for the person to translate, and then they would laugh. And I'm like, finally they got it. And I'm not sure whether they're laughing at me or something strange that the person said. Right? And that's the reality of the world today, the international world, when you travel all over the world. I feel so sad that I don't understand Chinese, and therefore I will never be able to understand that culture in its essence. Everybody talks about multinationalism and internationalism. These are wonderful poetic words, but we don't invest enough in understanding cultures. And I think that is something that we should seriously look into at various levels, not cosmetically, but systemically, because it means so much more. You know, when in Big Bazaar, early days, very early days, when I joined the company, I remember talking to the learning department, and I said, they said, you know, the students were not learning, they were not participating much, and I said, oh, show me your slides. And most of the trainers had come from BPO industry, so the slides were all in English. So I looked at it and I smiled. I said, okay, give me a profile of the person who is participating. You know, the young customer service agents right at the front door. Tell me something about them. Where did they go to school? Where do they live? What do they eat? And they didn't know any of it. And I said, you know, sir, the problem is they don't know English. And I said, that's whose problem? Their problem or your problem? Why don't you, does the customer know English who's entering the shop? And they said, no, the customer also doesn't know English. So the customer doesn't know English, the customer service agent doesn't know English, but the trainer knows English, so where's the problem? And suddenly I said, why don't you change these slides into Kannada or Tamil or Hindi or Marathi, do it. And suddenly they realized the enormity of the challenge before them. Because a simple thing that we forget, these things teach us, is empathy. The complexities. You know, it's very easy for someone with one language to give advice to people who live in a country with 17 languages. It's so easy. You've never dealt with diversity and the complexities of it. You know, I have a gentleman before was office boy. I have a young office boy right now. And I just realized that he speaks only Marathi and he knows English just enough to survive. Very internet savvy, very smart, but you realize how complex it is, because I tell him, okay, go to the internet, and he knows how to press all the right buttons, but he doesn't know many English words. And that's a learning gap for him. So I have to invest time, money and energy to ensure to raise his level and really have to teach him English. Because most of the world is becoming like this. We are going to sacrifice 16 languages in order to be efficient. Something will be destroyed. And this is what led me to ask myself is, where does management come from? What we talk management, when we talk about learning systems, when we're talking about whatever is taught in the corporate world today, it mostly comes from people who eat like this and use this dollar bill. Not from people who are familiar with this kind of eating and who are used to societies with multiple languages. And I asked myself a question, that is there a management system which emerged from this culture which would be different? I'm not saying better. I don't want to say it's better. I'm saying different. And I want to take you on a journey of how our management systems are designed based on storytelling. If a typical management structure is based, we don't realize how powerful. What is the history of management? It starts with Harvard Business School, and actually when you trace its history, it's industrial engineering, and you realize most of the learning is from the Jesuit missionaries. They played a very critical role because they were into education. And before that, it was the Roman army. So it comes, everything is European. Roman army, Jesuit missionaries, industrial engineering, and then management in Harvard. And you see a story there, you start observing the structure of it. The story is this, and it's really from the book of Exodus in the Bible. Once upon a time, there were people who lived in abject poverty, slavery, denied dignity. They were treated extremely terribly. They denied their humanity, their freedom, until one day the prophet came along and showed them the promised land and said, I will take you here, far away, a kingdom which no one had seen, the land of milk and honey. All you have to do is trust him. So you had to cross sea, you had to cross the wilderness in order to reach this promised land. More importantly, you had to align with the commandments. You had to do what was told. It was carved in stone and given to the prophet by God. And when you read the Bible, you realize the complexity and difficulty of this. Because after this, the only stories, whether it's the book of Kings or the book of Patriarchs, the one thing that happens, you see, is stories of non-compliance. People don't align. Even when God gives things in writing, people don't align. Look at the choice of word. We struggle to align. And now, look at how management is designed. There is a problem. We need to solve the problem. So we need to have a vision statement, a mission statement, objective, goal, target, and therefore there will be a set of tasks, key performance indicator, systems, SOP, code of conduct, values that you have to align to, and I'm sure you have to conduct those value programs. And then finally, you will have deviance from the norm. You will have the regulators and the auditors telling whether you have aligned correctly. Do you see a pattern? And I always hear, so what's the problem you're solving? And I said, well, there it is. Here's the prophet, comes with a solution. And suddenly you realize the structure. That's what his management textbooks are talking repeatedly. And you say, oh, this is coming from some place. It does come from culture. It's not universal. Why should, this is not universal, it is rooted in a form of thinking. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm not saying it's better or worse, I'm saying it is a form of thinking. The question is there another form of thinking out there? Is there another form? And remember, I'm going to talk about India, there will be something in China, there will be something in Africa, there will be something in Australia, I don't know about them. But I want to share with you in the next couple of minutes an Indian way of looking at business. Hard, desi, shuddha desi. Yeah, shuddha desi management. Let's see, maybe it makes sense, maybe it's of value, maybe it's not of value. But something to think about. Maybe in this world of diversity, when we use it, let's have new management systems. Question what is already there. It's so nice to use words like out-of-the-box thinking. Let's actually go there. It might be a little threatening, but why not, right? So let's go. It's 7 o'clock in the evening. For 5 minutes, indulge me. Enter a new world order through storytelling. So it begins, the story begins with this. The story begins with the notion of Swarg. So Swarg means paradise. Now what does it mean, technically? Now this word is used in Buddhist mythology, Jain mythology, Hindu mythology. It refers to a place where there is a tree called Kalpataru. Stand under the tree, ask for anything and you will get it. There is a cow called Kamatheni. Stand in front of the cow, ask for anything and you will get it. There's a jewel called Chintamani. Hold it in your hand, ask for anything and you'll get it. There is a vessel called Akshay Patra. It overflows with grain and gold. Now look at it very carefully. It sounds so nice and fantastic in Lord of the Rings. But look at it from a financial point of view. How many of you all are good in finance? Look at it carefully. It is a world where there is infinite return with no investment. Look at it. I don't have to do anything. No investment, no effort, and everything comes to me. Now that must be paradise. Right? Imagine if you could learn without attending those horrible classes. Yeah? It would be so wonderful, just through osmosis. You know, wish I have this skill set. It will happen. Yeah? Of course, I don't want you all to think about it because many of you all will go out of jobs. No, honestly. But think about it, the possibility. The students have to be trained. You really don't have to go and train them, it will happen. Wish fulfilling dream. Now that is paradise, right? And the king of paradise is called Indra. And he's rich and powerful because he has everything. And of course, this is a 2,000-year-old story. They didn't have Mercedes and Rolls Royce then, but they had elephants who were white in color with 6 tusks and 7 trunks. So something which no one can afford, he has it. And yet Indra has everything, but he's described as an insecure god. He's an insecure god who is always under siege. He's always fighting. Somebody will take, everything will go away, sab kuch chala jayega. What is he afraid of? What is he afraid? He's afraid that if a king performs yajna, he gets nervous and he steals the horse. If Asura is born, he runs to his father, Brahma. If Rishi performs tapasya, he immediately gets so nervous that he says, Apsara department, send Menaka, unleash the nymphs. Basically, he's saying there's competition out there. And he gets nervous when there's competition. He gets nervous when he's threatened. He is constantly insecure. This is a god who's always afraid, who has everything, but he's always insecure. Sounds familiar? Have you met people like this? Sab kuch hai, but very insecure. Always fighting. Always in Ranabhumi, a battlefield. Anxious, stressed out, frightened. The reason is because he thinks Lakshmi will run away. And who is Lakshmi? Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. What does it mean in business terms? Your customer. The customer will go to the competition. Your talent will go to the competition. Your investors will go to the competition. You're terrified. What will happen to your company if the most talented people leave your company? What will happen if your customers leave your company? Everything will collapse. You're terrified. And rightly so, because Lakshmi has a very unseemly reputation. She's chanchala, whimsical, restless goddess. If you give you a $100 bill in your hand, how many minutes before it's sold, it leaves your hand, right? You know, she's in Bengali, she's called Lokhi Tera, which basically means cockeyed, looking London, going Tokyo. Have you had that experience? You think you're going to get a promotion and it goes to the scoundrel in the next cabin? Yeah? All the time. Lakshmi chanchala hai. So Lakshmi, you don't know, it's like the stock market, you really don't know where she's going, where's the contract going, where's the customer going. The boy takes the offer letter and doesn't turn up. The customer says, I will come in a minute and doesn't turn up. You're scared because Lakshmi is restless. But then the scriptures add something very interesting and hopeful. They say that she always goes towards Vishnu. She sits next to Vishnu. She clings to his feet. She multiplies herself to have more of him. And Vishnu is in Rangabhumi, not Ranabhumi, not in a battleground, but a playground. He's always having fun. He's a secure God. He's always happy. And the question is, she prefers him. So the story is like a Bollywood film, right? Indra chases Lakshmi and Lakshmi chases Vishnu. How do you see yourself? Do you chase the customer or does the customer chase you? Do you chase the student or does the student chase you? Do you chase talent or does the talent chase you? Are you Indra or are you Vishnu? What would you like to be? That's the Indian model of management. Make yourself attractive. Turn into honey so that the bees will come to you. अपने आप को मधुर बनाओ. And this is a very different approach. It is not about systems and processes and alignment and skill and knowledge. It is about making yourself attractive. Attractive to the student, attractive to the talent, attractive to the customer, attractive. What should I do so that the boss clings to me and wants me to work for him and is willing to pay me any amount? Ye bonus chahiye, mil jayega. What should I do so that the customer doesn't leave me? Now, of course, when you hear this, you say, oh come on, this is mythological. It's not practical. It doesn't happen. In real life, you have to run after money. So I have to give you an example, proof of concept that these ideas exist in the world, and Indians will only trust it when I give you an American example. So I'll give you an American example. This is my American example. Look at it very, very carefully. These are not beggars. These are customers outside an Apple store before the launch of iPad. So who is chasing whom? Is the product chasing the customer or is the customer chasing the product? Ask yourself this question. Vishnu Charitra ki Indra Charitra. And there's something special about the iPad screen, right? Once you touch the iPad screen, there's something almost erotic about it, right? It does everything you wanted to tell it to do. That's it happens. Click a button and it disappears. He has seduced you and you are hooked and you will never let him go. That's what Steve Jobs did. He created a product. Can we think about it in terms of service? Can we provide that in terms of service? So that's the idea. So that's what brings me to the 3V model, because in management nobody takes you seriously unless you have a model. Yeah? So I have a model. So business is what you do, behavior is how you do it, and belief is why you do it. As is belief, so is behavior, so is business. In Hindi it is of course jaisa vishwas, jaisa vyavahar, jaisa vyapar. What does it mean? What does it mean? Now the thing is, what is measurable in this? Management is all about measurement, right? I'm sure you'll have gone crazy trying to measure the intellectual abilities of the members of 5,000 employees. I still don't believe it's possible, but somebody's making money out of it. So, business is tangible. You can measure business because you can measure assets, you can measure the balance sheet. Business is saguna, tangible, measurable. Behavior, vyavahar, is also tangible and measurable. You can measure it. But you can't measure belief. I really don't know how you're thinking. I don't know it. It's nirguna. It's intangible. So in India, they have always valued the nirgun, the intangible, over the sagun, tangible and measurable. In Western management, you value the sagun or the measurable far more than nirgun, that which cannot be measured, and that's the fundamental difference. You value the intangible, which means what? It means that if I am Indra, I will create ranabhumi, battlegrounds. I'll always be in stress, I'll always be fighting and screaming and shouting, I'll always be insecure, and I'll create swarga. I will create swarga, I will create paradise. But if I think like Vishnu, I'll create a playground, a happy workspace, a joyful workspace, and I will create Vaikunt. And Vaikunt, in both Swarga is paradise, the Indians will make everything complicated. Paradise and heaven are separate. Paradise is Swarga, heaven is Vaikunt. Lakshmi is located in both places, but in one place, in Swarga, she is there by force. It's like the students you have to drag in. If you don't come here, you will lose your bonus points. That's Swarga. So full classroom and nobody is listening to you. And Vaikunt, where students come, you want to attend, attend. If you don't want to attend, don't attend. But they will still count like bees to honey. How do you achieve that? Because Indra is your default mechanism. You're born an Indra. You have to become a Vishnu. And even if you're 1% Vishnu is good, 2% Vishnu is great, 3% is fine, 4% you're a millionaire. How do you become Vishnu? You have to do darshan. You have to look at people. And how to look at people? You have to read my book.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Dr. Devdutt Pattanaik, please stay on stage as we honor you with a token.
विश्वास है कि अच्छे व्यवहार से अच्छा व्यापार हो सकता है, बट क्या अच्छे व्यापार से अच्छा व्यवहार निकल सकता है?
व्यापार विश्वास के बिना तो हो ही नहीं सकता. You have to begin with belief. You have some belief. Business comes later. All businesses happen later. Business is an outcome. You can't use business as an input. It's an output. Your thoughts are the input. That's what you bring to the table. If you think that because I have Lakshmi, I will turn into Indra, that is absurd. That is absurd. Because you are at one percent. People say that when Lakshmi will come to me, I will become Vishnu. It doesn't work like that. Pehle Vishnu bano, tab Lakshmi aayegi.
In 2011 at the CLO summit, Devdutt had said कि लक्ष्मी के पीछे मत दौड़ो, सरस्वती के पीछे जाओ, लक्ष्मी अपने आप आ जाए. मैं अभी तक सरस्वती के पीछे दौड़ रहा हूँ, लेकिन लक्ष्मी नहीं आ रही.